Before helmets were mandatory, before every playground had rubber flooring, and before parents tracked their kids like Uber rides, childhood was wild. We built ramps out of junk, climbed anything taller than us, and did things that would trigger a dozen lawsuits today. No rules, no helmets, just freedom, bruises, and stories we still tell decades later. So what exactly did we get away with? Here are 25 dangerous childhood activities that would be banned today. Back then, they were just called fun. Riding in the back of a pickup truck. Nothing said summer like piling into the open bed of a pickup and flying down the highway, wind in your hair and zero seatbelts in sight. No one cared about safety ratings or crash statistics. It was all about holding on tight and not bouncing over the side when the truck hit a bump. We waved at strangers, ducked under overpasses, and thumped on the roof when we wanted the driver to slow down or take a corner harder. Dogs rode with us. Coolers rattled around. The ride was rough, loud, and totally free. It was terrifying, ridiculous, and unforgettable. Homemade ramps with Cinderblocks and plywood. Grab a piece of old wood, stack some bricks, launch your bike, and that was the math. We didn't measure angles or think about physics. We just wanted air. Most of us ended up with bent rims or bruised elbows, and the brave ones added firecrackers or plastic flames for extra flair. No one wore pads. Helmets? Rare. We flew like daredevils and landed like bowling pins. Rope swings over creeks. There was always that one tree with a knotted rope dangling out over the water. The idea was simple. Swing out, let go, and try not to belly flop. Sometimes the rope snapped. Sometimes you misjudged and landed in mud. Sometimes the water was barely knee-deep. But that one perfect swing felt like flying. Today there would be fences and warning signs. Back then there were just kids yelling, "Go!" Lawn darts. The original metal-tipped lawn darts were banned for a reason. They were sharp, heavy, and wildly unpredictable. We'd toss them in the air, aiming for plastic rings, and sometimes just trying to make them stick in the ground. The danger was part of the fun. You just didn't stand too close. Eventually someone always got hit, but until then it was the perfect backyard game. Playing in abandoned buildings. Half the adventure was getting in. A broken window, a loose fence, a secret passage through the trees. Once inside, it was pure adrenaline. Dark hallways, creaky floors, maybe even spray-painted ghosts on the walls. We told ghost stories, dared each other to go deeper, and jumped at every sound. No one wondered if the roof was stable or the floor was rotted. It was danger wrapped in imagination, and we couldn't get enough of it. BB gunfights. We didn't just shoot at cans, we shot at each other. Backyard BB gun wars meant welts, eye bruises, and parents shouting, "What were you thinking?" We'd hide behind trash cans, use cheap goggles if we were lucky, and try not to aim above the shoulders. Someone always got hit where they weren't supposed to, but back then, it felt like real-life action until someone went home crying. Climbing water towers or radio antennas. Every town had some forbidden structure, water towers, construction scaffolding, those weird metal radio poles, and for some reason we wanted to climb them. There were no ropes, no harnesses, just sneakers, nerves, and that moment at the top when the world felt huge. We weren't trying to be reckless, we just wanted to see how far we could go. If any of these already sound like something you'd get grounded for today, go ahead and hit that like button. Let's see how many of us actually survived the 90s in one piece. Riding bikes without brakes. Whether the brakes were broken or just didn't exist, we rode anyway. Coasting downhill meant dragging your feet or aiming for grass to slow down. If you were brave, you'd steer with one hand and wave with the other. It was only dangerous if you couldn't turn fast enough. And of course, that happened all the time. Skateboarding without pads, on hills. Every generation skated, but we did it with less protection and way more gravel. We bombed hills on boards with loose trucks and worn wheels. If you fell, you slid. Elbows first. If you made it to the bottom, you were a legend. There was no such thing as practice mode, just concrete and courage. Playing King of the Hill on real dirt mounds. Construction site? Perfect. We'd climb half-finished dirt piles and shove each other off like it was gladiator school. There were no rules, you just stayed on top or got tossed. Sometimes you got a mouthful of mud, sometimes a sprained wrist. But For a few minutes, you felt like you definitely owned the mountain. Firecracker Experiments. We didn't just light fireworks, we disassembled them. We taped them to toy soldiers, shoved them into action figures, or tried to launch them in soda cans. The goal was always to see what happens. Spoiler, it usually ended in smoke, screaming, and someone running to grab a hose. Sliding down metal slides in 100-degree heat. Playgrounds weren't soft and colorful, they were metal, sharp, and blazing hot. We'd climb to the top of a tall silver slide and roast our legs all the way down. By the time you hit the bottom, your skin was practically seared. We called it summer. Today, it's Pocket suit. Walking on frozen ponds. No one checked the thickness. We just tossed a rock, listened for the crack, and stepped on. Half the time it held, half the time it didn't. But the thrill of walking across a frozen pond, shoes crunching and arms out for balance, felt like magic. Until someone's foot went through and everyone else ran for their lives. Quick pause. If you've made it this far without cringing at your own childhood, you're built different. So subscribe for more nostalgia you forgot you remembered. Hitching rides on the backs of cars, skitching. Snowy days meant grabbing a bumper and sliding behind a moving car. We used boots, trash can lids, even ropes tied to the tow hitch. The driver usually didn't know, or worse, did know and went faster. No helmet, no plan, just cold hands and a short ride that felt like pure rebellion. Trampoline Wrestling. This one was wild. No nets, no spotters, just bare springs and reckless enthusiasm. We turned trampolines into wrestling rings, launching each other with body slams and elbow drops. One wrong bounce and you were off the edge, tangled in a bush or on the patio. But with the right crowd, it felt like backyard WWE. Tree climbing to the highest branch. We didn't stop at the low ones. We kept going higher and higher until the bark got thin and the trunk swayed in the wind. Scratches, ants, sap-covered hands. None of it mattered. The goal was always the top, even if the way down was way scarier than the climb. Playing with pocket knives. If you were lucky, someone gave you a little Swiss Army knife around age 8. We whittled sticks, tried to carve our initials, maybe cut open soda cans just to see if we could. No adult supervision, just a sharp blade and some dirt. Today that would get you suspended. Back then it was just called Saturday. Running through sprinklers. In the street. When lawns were dry and fire hydrants stayed closed, the next best thing was setting up a sprinkler in the driveway or dragging it into the street. We'd race barefoot across hot asphalt, slip on wet concrete, and hope no one drove through too fast. It was chaotic and loud, but hey, it was everything summer should be. Still here? That means you're either grinning or wincing. Either way, drop your wildest memory in the comments. We're reading all of them. Jumping off sheds, garages, or tree houses. We didn't need a trampoline because we had gravity. Kids would line up on rooftops, count to 3, and jump into piles of leaves, dirt, or whatever looked soft enough. Broken fences, rolled ankles, bruised egos, all part of the game. There was always that one kid who jumped first, just to prove it was fine. Making slingshots. Slingshots weren't just for show. We made them with tree branches and surgical tubing, sometimes old bike inner tubes, then used them for rocks, berries, or marbles. We'd aim at cans, trees, or, let's be honest, each other. It was fun until someone caught one in the leg or broke a window. After that, it usually disappeared for good. Riding without helmets, bikes, scooters, skateboards, rollerblades. No helmet in sight. We raced through neighborhoods, jumped curbs, and flew downhill like nothing could stop us. Some wiped out on gravel, others limped home bleeding. A few walked away with permanent scars. But the wind in your face, the speed, the thrill, that made every scraped elbow feel like a trophy. Playing bloody knuckles. This wasn't a game with winners. It was a test of pain. You and a friend would punch each other's knuckles until someone gave up or bled. Sometimes it was coins, sometimes fists, always dumb. But for some reason, we laughed the whole time, even with all the pain. Fire escape slides and drain pipes. In every school or apartment building, there was some off-limits way to get down fast. We slid down railings, climbed drain pipes, and jumped from stairwells just because we could. Most of it was metal, rusted, or burning hot from the sun. But it beat taking the stairs. Catching insects, bare-handed. Bees, wasps, spiders. If it moved, we tried to catch it. We'd trap them in jars, study them like scientists, or stage bug battles on the sidewalk. Sometimes we got stung, sometimes we got away with it. Either way, it never felt scary, just curious. Building tree houses. With real tools. Hammer, nails, scrap wood, and no plans. We built lopsided forts high in the trees. No guardrails, no supervision, and usually no floor on one side. Every swing of the hammer felt like building something big. It didn't matter if the walls leaked or the ladder was shaky. It was ours, and we built it. And that concludes our list. 25 dangerous childhood activities that would definitely be banned today. Which of these did you survive? Drop your wildest childhood moment in the comments. We'll be reading. Also, tap the like button if even one brought back a memory. And subscribe for more stories that only 90s kids and brave souls will understand. See you in the next video.